Hello, aspirants. Welcome to today's anthropology session. Today, we'll be discussing about how to write answers when it comes to anthropology. Most of the students who prepare for the optional subject, what they do is they will start reading the books. They will become an expert in it. They will have good content, but they will not end up with excellent marks in the examination. By the end of the day, it is the marks you get that matters. That is going to get you the service. So, answer writing is extremely important. How much importance you are giving to prepare the subject. Same amount of importance, or even a bit more, has to be given to writing answers. Before writing answers, you have to understand certain things. Number one, you have to have a very good content. So, take the content seriously, prepare it very well, read it very well. This is number one point. Second one, when you are preparing, when you are preparing the topic, ensure that you prepare it in such a way it will help you in answer writing. For example, let's say there is a topic called structuralism in anthropology. If I just read it completely from the book, I might understand the concept, but in order to write good answer, what I need to have is I need to have a good content, so that if the question is asked as a 15-mark question in the exam, I will know how to frame introduction. I'll know how to frame a body. I will have to know if I can include certain case studies or examples or certain diagrams in it, and then a good conclusion. So when you're preparing, prepare it in such a way you can write good answer. Make notes in such a way that it will have a good introduction, a body, and a conclusion, along with value addition material such as examples and case studies. These are all the things you need to know before starting your answer writing. When you are writing answers, there should be a process that has to be followed. The answer itself should be divided into introduction, body, and conclusion. First point you need to understand is when you are writing an answer, first thing you read the question, understand the question very clearly. Read the question twice or thrice so that there will be no confusion in the question. This is number one point. Second one, understand the demand of the question. Understand the demand, what the question is asking you, how the examiner want you to write the answer. That should be understood, which is you should be very clear about it. Then you will have to start with an introduction. See, students who are writing the answers should understand this. The introduction and conclusion part are extremely important. Why? It is the introduction which the evaluator is going to read first. It is the conclusion which he is going to read the last. The first impression and the last impression, these two things are extremely important. So, in your introduction, it can be of different way. There is no single method of writing an introduction. If it is asking about a certain concept, what I would advise you is write the definition of the concept in a clear way so that there will be no doubt about the writing. Or if they are asking you something like analyze a concept or critically analyze or evaluate, what you have to do is you will have to make sure the answer is giving a clear idea about what you are going to write. The introduction should give a clear idea about how your answer is going to be. So it can be a small summary or it can give a prelude to your answer. Third point, when you are writing an introduction, you are going to write it in just 3 lines or 4 lines, not more than that. So ensure that it has very good clarity. The person who is reading the introduction should not be going into a confused state. He should get good clarity about the answer. That is very important. Then you will start the body. In the body, one thing, there is no single method to write the body. So if you feel that I will frame my answer, all my answers will be like this, then it is a wrong way to do. For example, if you are getting a question in archaeology, you will have to focus more on writing the terms, mentioning the years, drawing the diagrams, those kind of things. If you are getting a question from physical anthropology, your importance should be in diagrams, maps, writing more case studies, etc. If you are getting a question from social anthropology, then here you will have to focus more on case studies, because you will have to give examples and case studies and writing multiple dimensions. That should be the focus. So in body, the point is there is no single method, there is no single model. According to the demand of the question, it keeps varying. Second, it has to follow a proper pattern. For example, if there is a question, let us say that there is a question about modernization, and the question is asking three different things. Let us say that the question is like this: define modernization, critically evaluate the modernization in the country in the recent times from the current perspective. So here, how you should be doing is start with introducing modernization and then a proper definition of modernization. The anthropologists who contributed towards modernization, that has to be written. And then you talk about modernization in India, a small thing. And then you start with modernization in the current aspect. And here you can't just give your points. You have to give legitimacy to your answer. How do you do it? With examples, with case studies, which you study from your book. So these things have to be mentioned. Try to include more diagrams, more case studies, more examples in your answer. That will give more legitimacy, that will give more interesting aspects in your answer. Try to maintain a lot of dimensions in your answer. Certain questions are very narrow, so there the scope to introduce multiple dimensions will be restricted. But usually, if it is a 15-mark question or a 20-mark question, you have very good scope to introduce multiple elements, to introduce multiple dimensions. So in order to bring multiple dimensions, you can't write big paragraphs. You have to divide your answer into small side headings and then write 2 lines about each and every side heading, introduce an example that will give you a lot of dimensions in your answer. That will help you very well. Finally, the conclusion. Conclusion too, it depends on the question. If, for example, we were talking about this modernization question, in this question, you can write something of a way forward. You can write that the modernization aspect has changed like this in the recent times. So it may go into this particular path. So you can give a way forward. Or you can tell something else. You can tell that modernization and westernization and Sanskritization, all these things contributed in developing the social life of the people, something like that. Just make sure your conclusion is not just 1 or 2 point taken from your answer. Conclusion should give a different dimension. It should enlighten the person who is reading the answer by giving some idea. So that point should be taken care of. In order to understand this, let me give you a good example so that you will get a good clarity about it. Let's take this question. What is cognitive approach? Critically examine its implications in socio-cultural anthropology. Cognitive approach and critically examine its implications is what the question is asking. It is a 15-mark question. So you have good space. 3 pages are there. You can write good content here. First thing, by reading the question itself, what I should understand is the question is asking about cognitive approach, cognitive theories is a topic in anthropology, chapter 6, paper 1. Critically examine. So you can't just write something, you have to examine. You have to critically examine the positives and negatives. Critically examine cognitive approaches implications in socio-cultural anthropology. So how the cognitive approach is having certain implications has to be mentioned here. So what I would do is I will be starting with an introduction. In the introduction, it is a theory-based question. So all I have to do is I can just write the definition. What is cognitive anthropology? The basic definition or the basic meaning of cognitive anthropology has to be mentioned. That's all. Then, aim of cognitive anthropology, 1 or 2 lines. That's all. Two important people are there when we talk about cognitive anthropology: Harold Conklin, Stephen Taylor. All I have to do is I'll have to write very small points about their contribution, because the question is more focused about the implications in socio-cultural anthropology and their critical examination. I cannot explain a lot about Harold Conklin and Stephen Taylor here because it will consume a lot of space. So it is just one part of the question. Once I complete Harold Conklin and Stephen Taylor, one part of the question is done. 7.5 marks is done. This is why you need to understand the question clearly. Most of the people, what they do is they will fill the paper with Harold Conklin and Stephen Taylor. They will end up getting just 3 marks or 4 marks. So the reason behind it is you have not understood the question clearly. So you are answering the first half of the question by completing your answer until Stephen Taylor. After that, you start with implications on socio-cultural anthropology. How cognitive approach have made some impact. Cognitive approach talks more about the psychological aspect. It talks more about the people and their relationship with the environment. How people are classifying the things that are related to their environment. These kind of things. You can mention some case studies also. So this has to be written. Because they have asked you to critically examine, there is 1 or 2 criticism, you can mention it, but do not fill your answers completely with criticisms. That is not to be done. Critically examine will have both advantages and disadvantages too. Finally, you conclude, and it is always better to conclude in a positive way. So you can tell that the cognitive anthropological approach, even though it had certain criticisms, it had moved the anthropological theories in the direction of a scientific path. Something of this sort. It's not whatever I am telling, it is just an example. You can write it in your own way. Just that the concept should be clear. That's all. So I hope you have understood the important points you should know when you are writing your answers. Do look at the description button below, and we have added some other videos about anthropology which will help you. Apart from this, if you are feeling that you are having a lot of troubles in writing answers or to understand anthropology, in that case, all you have to do is you will have to contact us with this email ID. You can call us, you can message on our official number. We will get back to you. We have dedicated mentorship program where people will be writing answers and sending to us. We will evaluate and have regular sessions with them. It will help them. Or you can even have 1 or 2 free sessions with us. We give free guidance to the people who are preparing for UPSC 2. All the best. Do well.